All right, child-parent relationship, and I'm sure as children also grow in terms of age, there's always that conflict, and that is what we're seeing, child and parent conflict, and then the parents are rarely there, as you said, to even solve these conflicts. What is this doing to the children?
Okay, we are having children who are learning either from peers or learning from televisions or other modes like the internet. And so, at Nairobi Parenting Clinic, we emphasize that parents need to actually get to know what to do right. And if you are not at home, you actually can bring your house help or the caregiver of the child to come for the training, so that even when you are not there, the person taking care of the child is going to make sure the child is self-disciplined, and is also not going to destroy the child's self-esteem, because it is popularly said that a child will live up to your expectations. So if you keep telling your child, or if the caregiver keeps telling the child you are up to no good, you'll amount to nothing, then that child might live to that expectations. Yes.
All right. Now, and talking about expectations, and even what we saw in that short feature of children committing suicide, and sometimes then the question, and it happened, we saw a lot of it happen, and we're wondering, is it us who are putting too much expectations to these children, and especially in our education system, or what is really happening that we're seeing so many children deciding that, I'd rather die than actually leave?
Actually, there are a lot of stressors today in their lives living. We are having children getting a lot of pressure from school. The society is defining success in terms of grades, yet we know every child is born with a talent. You might not be, your talent might not necessarily be in class, but you might be an athlete, very good in sports, very good in football, very good in art, very good in music. So we are not realizing that there are other gifts apart from the education grades. And again, apart from that, again, parents are continuously competing with their peers. They want their children to be getting the A's, to be going to national schools, and so there's a lot of pressure. Again, in school, you find young children being taken to boarding schools just because the parents want them to perform, to get A's and all that. So there's a lot of pressure from peers, because you will find even if your child is coming from a place where they are supervised, from a home where they are supervised, they'll interact with other children who are never supervised, and then the peer influence is also there. They'll tell you what movies they are watching, they'll tell you what music they are using, and so it becomes peer pressure. Again, there is issue of drugs. A lot of drugs circulating, cannabis, very common, and we know that even in the hospitals, we know that 70% of the young people who have confusion, which we call psychosis, is caused by cannabis. Research is now showing that use of cannabis can precipitate schizophrenia in a person who doesn't have any genetic predisposition. So there's all sorts of challenges in the lifestyles today.
All right. And talking about drugs, and even for parents to be keen, and I'm sure there are behaviors that they can pick, especially their teenage children, that maybe you'd like to share with us this morning, because I don't think these are things that just happen one morning. It's something that if a parent is keen, will definitely get to notice some of this change in behavior.
Yes, you're right. If you are spending time with your child, you'll definitely observe when their behavior starts to change. Because when a child is using drugs, definitely their behavior will change. Either they neglect their self-hygiene, or either they will be excessively sleepy depending on what they are using, or they'll use these inhibitions. Some will lack motivation to study, some will oversleep, others will lack sleep depending on what they are using. So basically, if you're spending your time with your child, you'll be able to notice when something is wrong.
They're temperamental, violent,
Some will become violent, they'll become anxious, they will become, they cannot control their temper. So if you're spending time with your child, you'll be able to notice any slight changes and look for help. But again, we also teach parents that even as you spend time with your children, you need to discuss some of those scenarios. If you know that there's a lot of banging in the streets, you need to sensitize your children about them. Tell them that bangi will destroy your brain. Because what their peers will tell them, they'll tell them, if you smoke this, you will be very courageous, you'll be able to talk to girls, you will be, some will even tell you you'll become very good in maths, which is a lie. So you as a parent, you need to tell them the exact truth. So that when they are told by their peers, they already have some information. Because if they are left to the peers, you never know what the peers are going to tell them, and they'll believe that. So even as you talk and interact with your children, you need to discuss some of those scenarios. Do you know the dangers of having sex before marriage? Do you know the dangers of taking alcohol? Do you know that alcohol can destroy your liver and such things? Yes.
Is there always is there a right time to start having these discussions with a child?
Actually, the average child is developing very early. We are seeing adolescents puberty starting as early as 9 years. So the earlier the better, but depending on the age. If a child asks you a question, give information at that age. Don't say, I'll discuss it with you when you're older. Because probably they've heard something. Even when you're watching TV and a child asks something, don't just brush it off. Give the information based at their age level. But it's also good to find out what they know. So how did you come to know about this? If, for example, a child is asking about alcohol, how did you learn about it? What do your friends say about it? So that you also gauge and see what information they have. But if you block them, tell them, I'll tell you when you're older, that chance might never be there.